Here are the payouts for the college football playoff. You win games, you get paid. The Big Ten won 6 games. They got $46 million. The SEC won 2 games and got $26 million. Notre Dame won 3 games and got $20 million all for themselves. And then the Big 12, the Mountain, and the ACC, who combined, barely surpassed what Notre Dame got on their own. Right? Like, yeah. I mean, play the funeral music. I get it. So, again, here I sit, and I know people hate this conversation. Why should Notre Dame join a conference?
They shouldn't.
Under no circumstance should you join a conference because, again, and I know that people in the Big 12 hate this, but you've got to grasp the idea that your team is the reason that the Big 12 is one of the least earning conferences in the college football playoff. Whose fault is this graphic right here? The Big 12's fault, the ACC's fault.
Yeah, it's not the Big 10's fault.
Right? And furthermore, if you're an ACC school, right, you had multiple opportunities to win games and you lost it all. Obviously, with the Big 12, Arizona State losing, that hurts. But if you're Notre Dame and you're winning multiple games and going to the college football playoff and getting a $20 million check, you would have no reason to join a conference. But then I look at the Big 12, and here's really where the rubber meets the road. I look at the Big 12, and I say to myself, how do you reconcile? And again, the guy that I go to, how do you reconcile keeping Dave Aranda at Baylor? How do you reconcile not having winning programs in the state of Texas? How worried are you about Willie Fritz at Houston? How worried are you about Spike Dykes' kid at TCU, the high school coach at Texas Tech, the mullet at Oak State? These are all the reasons that this conference isn't winning games in the college football playoff. You look at Utah. Utah has got to go to the college football playoff and win games. It is vitally important for the success and failure of this conference. And yet here we are. We are in a new year in 2025. Hell, it's almost February already. And not much in the Big 12 conference has changed. So when I say, hey, if you're a Big 12 fan, you're not competing with the likes of the SEC and the Big 10. You're simply not competing at the top of college football. You are, and I don't even know how to say this out loud. What are you, $38 million behind the Big 10? I said $38 million behind the Big 10.
You know,
but you go ahead and you keep making excuses for why, oh, well, Marty Baylor finished strong. And hey, Monty, they win. Spike Dykes' kid is winning games.
I'm a man.
They're not winning games. And I'll continue to tell you, hey, it's cool at BYU that you had that season. But change the lens, right? Change the lens of the conversation. How much did BYU mean to the Big 12 this year? How much did Deion ultimately mean to the Big 12 this year? Sure, huge TV audiences. Huge TV audiences. How much did all that matter? None, not at all. None, nothing.
Not even a little bit.
Cam Scatabo meant nothing. Congratulations, you made the college football playoff. You got to win games.
Well, I would say that, Arizona State, they were a big reason why the Big 12 got into, they are a big reason why the Big 12 had the presence they had in the college football playoff. And, I think that, listen, this conversation isn't about Arizona State or Deion or BYU. This conversation is about the programs who are bottom half in the conference and are not doing anything that they should be doing. I tend to agree that, this whole Baylor situation, the Texas Tech situation, the Oklahoma State situation, the Utah situation, it's inexcusable for your conference to have none of those teams be competitive. That just can't, that can't happen. If I said, hey, the SEC is not going to have Georgia, Bama, Texas, and Ole Miss be competitive, they're all going to be one-win teams, the SEC wouldn't be the SEC, right? So, the Big 12 has to get to a place where it becomes, unacceptable. It becomes taboo to be a 5-win team. And the real problem is there's not a real way to get there, because ultimately, to become that caliber of football team, you got to recruit. You got to be better than you are now in the offseason, because your in-season success is defined by what you do in the offseason. So when everybody in Stillwater wants to tell you, new coordinators, and look at all the guys they got in the portal that are of zero consequence and are not going to be huge contributors. Like, do we really expect Oklahoma State or TCU or Tech to be a 10, 11 win team? Because I don't.
I don't at all. Sadly,
7-8 wins, okay, I guess, but that's you're in the worst spot you could be. You're just mediocre.
And again, I'm excited about what Joey McGuire's doing in Lubbock. I think the transfer portal and recruiting has been huge. You can't believe anything other than that defense at Texas Tech is going to be significantly better.
It damn well better be.
How can it not with the talent, right?
Dude?
But what if it's not? What if Dave Aranda is not significantly better? What if that's not an 8 to 10 win team in Waco this year? What if they don't go to the championship game? Like, I just want, instead of focusing on how Notre Dame gets a free pass, focus on the Big 12 winning more games. Focus on the Big 12 having every university in this conference pushing for the college football playoff.
Yeah.
Focus on, instead of ripping Deion Sanders, who unfortunately we're going to talk about in a minute, instead of ripping Deion Sanders, maybe model your program the way that Deion Sanders does. Because he's not here to win regular season games. He's here to win the college football playoff. Can you say the same thing about Dave Aranda?
No.
Can you say the same thing about Mike Gundy?
No.
Can you say the same thing about Kyle Whittingham? Can you say can you say the same thing about Kalani Sitake? No, I don't think you can. Can you say the same thing about Kenny Dillingham? Yes. Kenny Dillingham's only goal is to win a national championship. I don't think you can say that at BYU. I don't think you certainly can't say that at TCU or Baylor or Tech, or can you say that about Iowa State? Kansas State? Is Kansas State's only goal really to win a national championship? No, it's not. And I don't buy that it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you make that argument. I truly don't. And I think when you look at this graphic, and I'm just going to keep throwing it up there because I think it matters. You're $38 million, bro. You're $38 million behind the Big Ten.
And then you want to be surprised when, Baylor's AD calls for an emergency meeting as to why the Big Ten and the SEC don't show up.
And everybody said no.
Like, this is my point, dude. Like, I feel like there are some of you who agree with us, but I feel like there's a large amount of people in the comment section who don't agree with the sentiment that the Big 12 is in trouble. And again, I'm not saying the conference is going to melt down. I'm not saying that it's not going to exist. But what I am saying is it's just not going to be relevant. If you continue to be this far behind, like you're not going to be competitive, and you're already borderline not competitive.
But and I think the important thing to drop the cherry on top of this Sunday is you have every opportunity that the Big Ten and the SEC has. You do. Win games. Win games. Was it as if you couldn't get ranked? Was it as if in the final AP poll you just didn't have an opportunity? No. Arizona State is 7th. You look at BYU at 13, right? And you look at Colorado at 25. You had opportunities. But what you notice here is you just didn't have very many good football teams.
Yeah.
And the ACC the same. That it is wild to me that SMU, who has no business being ranked ahead of BYU, and I still think no business being ranked ahead of Iowa State. But it's wild to me that SMU, who bought and paid themselves into the ACC, is ranked 12th. That's crazy. The Big 12 had opportunities. This idea that it's only the Big 10 and the SEC, Monty. No, it's not. No, it's not, because I'll keep going back to this. Is the Big 10 really a phenomenal conference top to bottom in football? No. Is the SEC better, but is it a phenomenal conference top to bottom? No. But are they exponentially better than the Big 12? No, they're not. They're not. The Big 10 is not far and away a better football conference than the Big 12. It's not. What did Oregon do this year? Well, Oregon had a great year until it got to the games that mattered, and they didn't do anything.
Right.
They no-showed.
But again, I think that, the hard part is the dominance Oregon showed all year really pushes the Big 10 forward in narrative. If the Big 10 was just Ohio State and everybody else, and let's say that Oregon was a 3-loss team and they had lost to Boise State and they had lost some of those close ones, then I think we're having a totally different conversation with the college football playoff, and maybe that graphic looks a little bit different at the end of the day. But the problem is that Big 12 teams don't go 13-0. They're not one-loss teams.
And in my opinion, in a lot of these places, and this is the real difference. This is just my opinion, and I could be wrong. In my opinion, when we look at what's the real difference between the Big 10, the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC, the biggest difference is from the conference commissioner to the presidents, to the athletic directors, to the head coaches, to the players they recruit. The only thing that matters is winning games.
Yeah.
In the Big 10 and the SEC. And in some places, I think what Deion's done at Colorado should be the minimum bar for the Big 12.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do not believe in any way, shape, or form that Baylor, Tech, TCU, Oak State, Oklahoma State, and this goes back to cutting Mike Gundy's salary. So you clipped his balls off, and then you told him to go out and recruit. And he hired 2 old heads to be his coordinators.
Right.
All that matters at Colorado is winning. All that matters, and I know the program intimately well, all that matters at Utah is winning. That's it. Look at that. Again, I'll just keep going back to Kyle Whittingham made systemic changes in his football program. All that matters is winning. That's it. 100%. At BYU had a great season. A historically great season. Attaboy. Good job. All right. Let's all right. Cool. It's not, hey, we had a great season. We should have beaten Kansas. And it's really, we got to look in the mirror and ask ourselves, how did we lose to Kansas? How did we lose to Arizona State? In that locker room, in those coaches' offices at BYU, they're desperate to win a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
You think the garden variety donor, you think the garden variety BYU season ticket holder is desperate all in to win a national championship? They're not. I saw a video, and I showed it to Jake this morning. I saw a video of a BYU guy who was like, wow, we finished 13th in the AP poll. Whew, what a year. Hey, it's good, but that's not being all in to win a championship. And it should be all you're focused on, because I guarantee you at Ohio State, we were talking about firing Ryan Day. No, that talk is all over with.
Because he delivered.
Their best player, arguably, is a true freshman wide receiver who's going to be there for 2 more years. Right? Ryan Day, you want to talk about a cat that's all in to win a national championship? He hired his replacement to be his offensive coordinator. Because I guarantee if they'd have fired Ryan Day, they'd have talked about Chip Kelly being the next head coach at Ohio State. Right? You look at Alabama.
Yeah.
It's not like that in the Big 12. That I don't mean to wax on or just.
No, I just think I think that this concept of the word expectations. I just think that they're in the Big Ten for those top programs. There's an inherent expectation that you will win at the highest level. It doesn't need to be spoken. It just is the standard. Like I really do feel like, for a lot of these programs in the Big 12, winning is just not the standard. And I'm not even hating. I'm looking at the behavior of the program, how you go about setting up the program. And it just is not, you're not going to convince me that somehow Oklahoma State's top priority is winning football games. There's no way anybody can sell you on that based on the decisions they've made. So I'm just going off of what they've done. Now, you can make a case for, TCU or obviously Colorado or some of these other schools. Like, at least TCU has been to the playoff and won a national championship and done some things in recent memory. At least they have that.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat things. And frankly, I would love nothing more than to see the Big 12 have 3-4 teams in the college football playoff. But unfortunately, that ship has passed. And the only way you're going to get those kind of revenue numbers is by beating the SEC and the Big 10 at their own game. And nobody in the Big 12 right now is good enough to do that.
Yeah. All right, let's get your comments in here. I want to do it quickly because I think this is a really important conversation. That when the money is wired into your account and you're $38 million light, there should be some real tough conversations across this league. And as much as I despise the way that Florida State's gone about their business, their proposals and their suggestions about unequal revenue sharing, which the Big 12, I'm telling you, is headed down that road. The unequal revenue sharing model has to be put in place. You have to be incentivized to be elite, which is sad because I don't think you should ever have to be incentivized.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody in Waco, nobody in Lubbock. Look how many people were on this show this year defending Joey McGuire, which is crazy. First one in, Illumindursky. Hello, my friend, a member for 17 months.
Nice.
Let's go Buffs. We'll talk about Dion here in a minute.
I think that was a Bills reference.
It clearly was not. Nobody's rooting for the Bills. Not even the refs will be rooting for. Okay. Steely. Good morning, Steely. Mr. Preston. Good morning, casuals. Happy Friday. Hello. Good to see you. Our favorite Floridians. You guys build a snowman, Maury? Hit the like button, you filthy casuals. Yes, please. Please hit the like button. The real Pete Forte. Hello. Welcome to the nightmare. Hello. Mr. Ohio, TGIF. Dude, you have no idea. Fun fact, since 2020, Buffalo has defeated the Chiefs every regular season game, but not once in the playoffs because Josh Allen hasn't been that dude. I'm saying, Glenn, San Diego State Glenn, hello. Filthy now, Maury. Come on now. I hit it, though. There you go. I'll hit it. You know. Get dirty. Maury, like button smashed. I feel fresh and so much cleaner now. There you go.
Get the job done. Let's go.
Wasakowskinator. Good morning. ACC Big 12 should just merge. It is hard to comprehend. You know what the most troubling part of this graphic is? And Eric, you're tongue in cheek. I get it. You know what the most troubling part of this graphic is? Michigan had a down year. SC's having another down year. We have not seen the best of this conference.
No.
Oregon's going to win a playoff game. Washington, I'm probably too over the top.
Does Matt Rule ever get going?
Matt Rule at Nebraska. We're not close to the top of the Big Ten. This is what I've talked about all year. This conference has legitimately 6 programs that could compete for a national championship every year.
Yes.
Legitimately. Can you imagine what these numbers will look like if that happens? What happens when Kalen DeBoer figures himself out at Alabama? Mm-hmm. What happens when Lane Kiffin doesn't lose to also ran SEC teams?
When he breaks through.
Look at Tennessee. Look at Georgia, Bama, Ole Miss. Look at, like, you're talking about 8 teams in the SEC that legitimately could win college football playoff games in the same year.
Yeah.
And when they get together next week, the Big Ten and the SEC, and they figure out ways to take more spots in the college football playoff, this right here is only going to get worse.
Because it's all part of the plan.
Notre Dame's going to be there every year.
Yeah.
So I ask you, how many teams in the Big 12?
That's what I'm saying. Like even just the teams who even are in the conversation, just in striking distance, even. Like I mean, I guess if we're going to be generous, because I still think there's proving to do, we can throw Utah in there if you want to. Like, obviously, Utah typically is very successful, very good, really bad year, obviously surprised. Okay, we'll be generous. We'll write that off and say, hey, well, Utah's a team that, you figure is going to compete, most years to get into the college football
Again,
playoff.
BYU?
Yeah.
I don't think BYU is this good again.
I don't think I can say BYU is this good again. And it's a hell of a year, and I love those guys, but the reality is, man, just the same way that Lane Kiffin hasn't got into the college football playoff, BYU fumbled the bag big time.
They had it.
Like, they had it. They had a clear path. It was set up. It was established. And then you lost. And so, again, it's no slight to those guys, but business is business, right? I mean, that's all this is. Like, hey, it's what we were talking about yesterday on the show. All the people commenting, hey, it matters when you win. Yes, it does. And it matters how much you win, and it matters what your reputation is. So when Utah or BYU or Colorado are in the AP top 25 and they're getting disrespected, who's going to be surprised? Because I'm not going to be surprised.
No.
Next season, when the week 0 or week 1 top 25 comes out and the Big 12 is nowhere to be found, who's going to be surprised?
And, this graphic, imagine if Penn State hadn't gotten SMU and Boise State.
Yeah.
What if that had been Colorado or BYU instead
or ASU, instead of Texas?
Anyway, my point is, how many teams in the Big 12? How many teams in the ACC? Okay, I can give you Florida State. You think Bill Belichick's turning North Carolina around? That's highly improbable.
I don't know that they're CFP good the first year, but I do think they're going to start to be better.
I think it's improbable they go to the playoff. Duke? Come on, boys.
Well, Riley Leonard's not there anymore. So,
good point.
I mean,
thank you.
You know,
I think it's highly improbable that the ACC, you're really going to tell me that SMU is, because I think Florida State, Miami. I could see Miami going to a college football playoff. You got to find a way to replace Cam Ward.
Mm-hmm.
That production is going to be really tough to replace. And Mario Cristobal is going to have to get around all the politics and, well, him just being really stupid in big moments. But I could see Mike Norvell instantly turning, with the coordinators and the talent he brought in there.
And
I could see him instantly turning Florida State around.
But Florida State's a good example. People respect that Florida State can be in the college football playoff. It's not taboo for them to be in the conversation, or Clemson, or some of those ACC teams. It is legitimately taboo for Colorado to be in the CFP conversation, or for Tech, or Baylor, or Oklahoma State, or Utah to be in the college football playoff conversation. I mean, we haven't seen that. This is my point.
Louisville,
people, yeah, it would be taboo for Louisville to be in the college football playoff.
Georgia Tech,
yeah, taboo.
Pitt,
yeah.
I think Florida State. I don't think SMU ever has this year again. I can't see it. I can't see them maintaining this. Their path was so. It was an anomaly. I could see Clemson being a 10-win team regularly.
But Clemson, see, that's a good example. Clemson's a team that's won national championships, obviously. Clemson's been around the block. And the conversation's very different with Clemson. And so that's why I'm saying, it's not only that the Big 12 is not winning enough now, It's that in the CFP's history, you haven't won enough. And I know everyone says, oh, well, Monty, it's supposed to be the committee's job to not consider the past, only consider this year. Sure. Everybody considers the past. Everybody, it's impossible not to make a determination based off of your reputation as a program. That's why the Alabama conversation was so volatile with fans, right? Like, as we were trying to figure out who was going to get in, them or Miami, or what the case was going to be. And that's why I say, like, it's at some point the Big 12 is going to have to make a shift, whether it is, incentive-based revenue sharing in the conference, or like something's going to have to happen to penalize these schools for being mediocre. Yeah. Oklahoma State being a no-win team in conference is a circus. That's embarrassing. I just don't know how that's possible. How does that happen?
I don't know. Giggity says it sounds like we have a bit of a draft blowing through the studio. Hey, I got to clean off the top of the can. Oliver Crooms. Hello, Oliver. Stop it, please. Give it time. The new Big 12 just formed. But I'm not even talking about the new Big 12. I'm talking about the guys who've been here. But like in your case, Houston's new to this league. I have to believe. I mean, he's a really good coach.
Yeah, and you're already cooking in basketball.
They're going to turn that around in football, right? But Baylor, Tech, and TCU, Oak State, what is there? We got to stop making excuses for people. Harry Austin, good morning, sir. It's year one post Texas OU. Let the new Big 12 grow. Okay. But do you have time for that?
So here's the difference. I don't disagree that it's year one after Texas and OU leaving, and the conference needs time to grow. The problem is you don't have time to grow. The problem is that graphic explicitly says, hey, you don't have time to grow. You have to, because remember what the narrative was when the Big 12 let Texas out early, right? And they paid their way out, and that business dealing got done. Oh, well, the Big 12 doesn't need Texas. The Big 12 wants the money. The Big 12 is going to add through realignment. And then the Pac-12 thing happened, and Big 12 fan was like, oh, hey, we added all these brands. Everything's awesome.
And Texas went to the college football playoff this year.
And you didn't. And by the way, that Texas CFP run went to the SEC. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, man, the conference, they just have to grow. Like,
and isn't this, wait a minute, isn't this a philosophical conversation
yes,
more than it is, hey, we need time to grow and develop? Shouldn't you be all in on winning every single snap, which starts in spring ball and off-season workouts and chemistry building, and you got to be all in from day one. This is a 365-day-a-year job.
Shouldn't you be saying, hey, we're 1 year, we're going into our second season post Texas OU leaving. The blue bloods, the OG brands of the Big 12 should be carrying this conference. Hey, the conference is in a little bit weaker of a position right now. Hey, Tech, all of these brands we're referencing, they should be putting the conference on their back and going to the college football playoff. And like, there should be this bar of success that is just the standard, as I keep saying. But that's not what it is right now. And so the problem is I don't know how you fix it, because Brett Yormark has done everything he can do as a commissioner to serve you well and put you in positions, and you're just not able to convert right now, essentially.
Yep. Harry also says, did OU fire its coach? Well, but Brett Venables has only been there 3 years, and last year he almost won the Big 12. Then they finished second in the Big 12 last year at 10-3. Now this past season they were terrible, but he's gone out and he's made significant headway through the portal,
and he's beaten Texas.
Well, that's true. Majority did not love the show, but today's topic, like Pete Rose to the Hall of Fame, it's been done several times. It hasn't been.
It actually hasn't been, dude.
Because now we know how much money every conference made and how much money the Big 12 and the ACC did not make. You're $38 million behind the Big 10 in a year where the Big 10 was down. And the Big 10 just won the national championship 2 years in a row.
Don't listen. and I'm not trying to make this personal with you, Harry, but don't try to change this topic into, oh, well, you're just retreading that the Big 12 is not where the SEC and the Big 10 are.
No.
That's not what we're doing here. The numbers are out. We're no longer having an opinion-based conversation. We have numbers that say, hey, the Big 12 is this amount of money. What did you say it was? $38 million behind?
$38 million light.
How are we not supposed to talk about this graphic? That's my question, Harry. Is like, I understand.
Just ignore that?
I understand on the show that we've had a lot of conversations about the progress of the Big 12 and like, the failures of the Big 12 and where the conference is going. But I'm not putting on rose-colored glasses here and shining a turd. This conference has to get better.
And why are we having this conversation about the Big 12? Because the potential is there. They have the ability. I think we spend so much time as college football fans. Oh, we're never going to be the SEC or the Big 10. You can be. You just don't want to do what it takes.
Yeah.
We all love these goals and aspirations until it's time to do what has to be done. And then we don't want to fire Dave Aranda because he's a nice guy. And Joey's a great story. And Sonny Dykes and Mike Gundy's a legend. Great. You want to make the money or not? Well, yeah. Okay, well then let's Mike Gundy should have been fired.
Yeah.
Dave Aranda should not be the football coach at Baylor. Sonny Dykes, Joey McGuire, okay, totally get it. Totally get it. If Kyle Whittingham has another season the way he had, should Kyle Whittingham keep his job at Utah? I think I would tell you Kyle Whittingham will tell you he shouldn't keep his job.
Yeah.
You can't have it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
You can't be a victim. And then when the opportunity to de-victimize yourself shows up, you don't take it, and then you still want to be a victim.
And then you want to sell the idea that the conference is new and the new Big 12 needs time to grow. I guess, I don't know, man. Maybe the conversation really is like, what should the storyline of the Big 12 be? I mean, because Harry clearly is in the camp of, hey, it's the new Big 12. We got to give it time to grow. But I'm sitting here saying, bro, it's the new CFP, and you're not included in it except for one team or whatever. Like,
so
that's not
you're
good.
$70 million behind in the TV contract, right? And let's call it 40. They're getting 100. You're $60 million behind.
Right.
You're now $38 million behind in the college football playoff. Dude, we're pushing $100 million light.
That's a lot of money.
You're $100 million annually behind the Big 10.
But what do Big 12 fans want to do? Well, Deion sucks. He's terrible. Come on.
I'm just CWR. Notre Dame gets $22 million a year from NBC. Big 10 gets between $80 million a year each team with their contract. That's the reason for Notre Dame to join the Big 10. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
What are you talking about?
No, it's not. Why would Notre Dame join the Big 10 and split up their revenue? No, they would not. No.
Okay. Notre Dame every single week is on national TV. When they're at home, they're in a prime spot at home on national TV, not on cable, not on premium, on broadcast television that every home with an antenna or cable or satellite or internet has the ability to watch their game. Why would they change that? Do you really think Notre Dame, Northern Illinois would have been the feature Big 10 game that week? No. Why would they change that? I've said this repeatedly. The only reason Notre Dame is going to join a conference, do they have access to the college football playoff? No? Okay, we got to join a conference. Do they have access to a TV deal? No? We got to join a conference. Are we financially being held back because we're not in a conference? Yes, we got to join a conference. Money, availability, and reach. They have all of it. They just got a $20 million check from the college football playoff. What university in this country has that? And I would also remind you, all their other sports are in the ACC. So they have conference affiliation for all their other sports. Their football program is making over $100 million a year. And that's not merchandise. That's ticket sales, operations, partnerships, TV money, CFP money. And then you get to all that other fiduciary stuff.
Yeah.
The things you have to do to make yourself, and they're making that money. Their stadium makes them that money. Do you guys understand how much merchandise they sell? And you want them to join a conference where they will have to split that money. It's not, you guys get so boned over the TV deal. The TV deal is this much of it. Look at the.
Yeah.
Ohio State could lose their TV deal money and still be one of the richest programs in the country. Stop. There's no reason for them to do that. I was in Northern Florida. If I was in Northern Florida, I would have built a snowman. I told my kids if we get 3 inches, one's going up in the front yard. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Norge, with NIL, it's a different landscape. NIL has nothing to do with this. NIL has nothing to do with this. Do you really believe that any NIL contract, which very interesting enough, we have NIL lawsuits to talk about. Do you really think that Notre Dame has more ability? What's the best football program in the Big 12 right now?
ASU.
Okay. Does Notre Dame have more ability than ASU to pay players? Nope.